Imagine standing on a battlefield and looking up at a man so tall that he towers over everyone around him. That's exactly what the Israelites faced. On one side of a valley stood the army of Israel. On the other side stood the Philistine army. For days, neither side attacked. Instead, a giant warrior named Goliath would step forward every morning and every evening. Goliath was massive. The Bible describes him as over 9 feet tall. He wore heavy armor made of bronze and carried weapons that looked impossible for an ordinary man to lift. Every day he shouted at the Israelites, "Choose one man to fight me! If he defeats me, we'll serve you! But if I defeat him, you'll serve us." The challenge sounded simple, but there was a problem. Nobody wanted to fight Goliath. Not the soldiers, not the commanders, not even King Saul. For 40 days, the giant mocked Israel and insulted their God, and for 40 days, the entire army was too afraid to respond. Then one day, a young shepherd named David arrived at the camp. David wasn't there to fight. His father had sent him to deliver food to his older brothers. As David walked through the camp, he heard a loud voice echoing across the valley. It was Goliath. The giant was once again insulting Israel and challenging anyone to face him. David watched in disbelief as the soldiers backed away in fear. He couldn't understand it. "Who is this Philistine?" David asked. "Why is everyone letting him talk about God like that?" The men around him explained that anyone who defeated Goliath would receive great rewards from the king. But David wasn't interested in rewards. He was concerned that no one was standing up for God. Soon, word reached King Saul that a young shepherd boy was talking about fighting the giant. David was brought before the king. Saul looked at him and shook his head. "You can't fight Goliath," he said. "You're just a boy, and he's been a warrior his entire life." But David wasn't discouraged. He told Saul about the time he protected his father's sheep. When a lion attacked, David fought it. When a bear attacked, David fought it too. "The Lord protected me then," David said, "and he will protect me now." Saul wasn't convinced, but he had no better options, so he agreed. First, Saul tried to give David his royal armor. The young shepherd put it on and tried to walk. It was heavy and awkward. David took a few steps and immediately knew it wasn't right. He removed the armor. Then he picked up his shepherd's staff and walked to a nearby stream. There, he selected 5 smooth stones and placed them in his bag. That's all he carried. No sword, no armor, just a sling and 5 stones. As David walked toward the battlefield, Goliath finally saw him. The giant stopped and stared. Then he laughed. This was the champion Israel had chosen, a shepherd boy. Goliath was insulted. He expected a warrior. Instead, he saw a teenager carrying a stick. The giant began mocking David and threatening him. But David didn't back down. He looked up at Goliath and said something that would be remembered for thousands of years. "You come to me with a sword and a spear, but I come to you in the name of the Lord." The giant moved forward. The battle had begun. As Goliath advanced, David did something unexpected. He ran toward him, not away, toward him. While running, David reached into his bag, pulled out a stone, placed it in his sling, and swung it around his head. Then he released it. The stone shot through the air. In an instant, it struck Goliath directly in the forehead. The giant staggered, then he crashed to the ground. The battlefield fell silent. For a moment, nobody could believe what had happened. The giant who had terrified an entire nation was defeated, not by the strongest soldier, not by a king, but by a shepherd who trusted God. When the Philistines saw their champion fall, they panicked and fled. The Israelites charged forward and won a great victory. And from that day on, David became known throughout the land. The story of David and Goliath has been told for thousands of years. It's about more than a giant. It's about faith. Everyone else saw an impossible problem. David saw an opportunity for God to work. And sometimes the biggest battles aren't won by the strongest people. Sometimes they're won by the people who trust God the most. That's why the story still matters today, because giants still exist, not as towering warriors, but as fears and challenges that seem impossible. And the lesson remains the same. When God is with you, no giant is too big to face.